Every new year, my mum sticks a label on me, alone, on purpose. At 11:57 this year, I slid a sealed envelope under her champagne flute. She didn't know the fireworks weren't the only thing on a timer. My mum treats New Year's Eve like a televised special. String lights around the banister. Glittery 2026 glasses. A folding table covered in gold confetti, and a small grey label maker that might as well be a gavel. Superlatives. She sings every year. Best couple. First baby. Biggest promotion. Then she turns to me with that sweet prayer face. Click. Alone on purpose. She sticks it to my crystal flute. Like a name tag I didn't ask for. I have my own apartment, a job I'm proud of, and a circle of friends who can fix a broken sink, a resume, and a mood. But every December 31st, in my mother's living room, I'm reduced to one quiet accusation. You chose wrong. Tonight, the house smells like baked ham and hairspray. My brother and his wife dance in the kitchen. My cousin FaceTimes her fiancé from a ski lodge. Mum floats, topping off glasses, handing out fresh labels. She pauses in front of me. Maybe this is the year you let someone take care of you. Jenna, she murmurs, soft enough to be kind, loud enough to be heard, maybe, I say, and set my glass down before she can brand it. I know the schedule better than the Times Square host. Toast at 11:55. Predictions at 11:58. Kiss at midnight. Tears at 12:02 when Mum plays the slideshow of everyone's wedding photos like a hymn. I've watched this show my whole adult life. This year, I brought a new ending. On the mantle, between a scented candle and a framed picture of Mum kissing Dad in 1991, I place a heavy envelope. Open at midnight, I've written in block letters. Underneath, my initials. Inside, a letter on thick paper, 3 copies of something notarized, and a keycard clipped to a note. There's a second envelope in my coat pocket addressed to me, the one I promised not to open until the clock flips. It's from a name Mum doesn't know yet. My phone buzzes at 11:49, standing by. My reply, wait for my cue. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and write in the comments about which country you're watching this video from. Enjoy the story. Mum lifts the label maker like a prop, ready for predictions. She gives my brother new baby alert. My cousin gets moved to Denver. She reaches for my glass again, already smiling. I slide my flute a hair out of reach and pick up the envelope from the mantle. I have a prediction. I say, calm. It opens at midnight. The room laughs, unsure if it's a joke. The TV counts down to 11:55. Outside, the neighborhood starts testing fireworks too early. Inside, my heart stays steady. I've practiced this feeling, voice low, hands still, back straight, at 11:57. I set my phone to vibrate and rest it on the mantle beside Mum's slideshow remote. A second text arrives. We're at the curb. Your signal is the word label. I raise my glass. Mum beams. Ready to name me again? Before we do labels, I say, looking right at her, I need 60 seconds. Then we'll see who's alone on purpose. Before we do labels, I said, my phone buzzed on the mantle one short. Vibration copy. The word blinked once on my screen and vanished. Mom laughed like I'd told a cute joke. Sweetheart, it's tradition. She lifted the little grey machine, fed the tape, and aimed for my glass. 60 seconds, I said, steady. Then you can print anything you want. The TV ticked to 11:58. The room shifted. The way rooms do when a countdown starts, people find their places, find each other's hands. My brother draped his arm around his wife. Mum stood where the camera would get her best side. Label maker in one hand, flute in the other. I picked up the envelope from the mantle and held it where everyone could see. Thick paper. My initials on the corner. Open at midnight. What is it? Mum asked, smiling for the crowd. A different tradition, I said. One that fits. Her mouth tightened, polite. We don't need drama. It's not drama. I slid the envelope under her champagne flute and let the lip of the glass weight it down. It's paperwork. Someone snorted. My cousin whispered, here she goes. I didn't turn. A firework cracked outside blue, then gold. Inside, the TV showed strangers in sequins. 11 hours, 59 minutes and 10 seconds. Mum lifted the label maker again. Just one little sticker, she said. We can open your folder after. I met her eyes. After this, I said, none of us will need stickers. The second hand started its final glide. 20, 19, 18. My phone buzzed again at Curband. I texted back one word without looking. Stand by. 10, 9, 8. I nodded at Dad. He hit record on Mum's slideshow camera out of pure habit. The whole year glowed in the TV glass as doubling back toward ourselves. 5. I took a breath I'd practiced. 4. I angled my body so my voice would carry. 3. I touched Mum's wrist gently and lowered the label maker. 2. I lifted my glass. 1. Happy New Year. The room shouted. The house filled with the soft rain of confetti and cheap horns. Mum kissed the air, then looked at me. Open it, she said, half daring, half curious. I slid the envelope free, broke the seal, and placed the letter on top so the first line faced her. She read it under her breath, then again, lips shaping the words. From the desk of On Purpose Cooperative, Inc. She read aloud, scoffing. What is this? I put the next page beside it. Notarized Articles of Incorporation. Stamped Deck 27. Another, lease agreement, -118, Willow Street. Unit 2B. Start date, JAN 1:12 AM. A glossy keycard was clipped to a note that said, front door lights on timer. Laughter dimmed. You could hear the TV crowd chanting in another world. Mum blinked. You signed a lease. Her voice pitched up. Tonight, I signed a lease, I said. For a co-living and studio space 2 blocks away. For single adults who don't want to be lonely while everyone else couples off and tells them it's a phase. I filed the non-profit last week. The first 3 residents move in next Friday. A commune. My cousin gasped. A home, I said. With a door that opens on purpose. Mum's smile went thin. You did all this instead of fixing your situation. I fixed my situation, I said. Just not the way you keep writing it. Through the front window, a white van idled at the curb. 2 people in parkas stood beside it, shoulders dusted with confetti from the street, holding a rolled vinyl sign. The porch light picked out the outline of a third person with a toolbox. Hat brim low. Mum noticed them a half second after I did. Who hold that? I said softly. I set my phone down on the mantel and tapped the screen twice. The front doorbell rang, polite, then twice more. The timing I'd set earlier. Are you serious? Mum whispered, yes, I said. I lifted the keycard from the letter and felt its weight. We can either keep playing with stickers or we can step outside and watch something turn on. Her jaw worked. She glanced at the label maker in her hand, then at the envelope, then at the door. The room leaned without knowing it. I reached into my coat pocket and pulled out the second envelope, the one addressed to me from a name my family didn't know. I tucked it in my palm and turned toward the hall. Coming? I asked her. She didn't answer. Behind us, the TV crowd cheered for a new year that was already here. In front of us, the bell chimed a third time exactly like we'd practiced. I walked to the foyer. The keycard felt warm in my palm. Behind me, shoes scuffed and dresses whispered the sound of people deciding whether to watch or stop you. Mum followed to the threshold, the label maker still in her hand like a tiny weapon. I opened the door. Cold air and confetti slid in. On the sidewalk, 3 figures turned toward us. The one with the toolbox tipped his cap. I'm Luis, he said, building super on Willow. You must be Jenna. He held up a thumb-sized black box. Timer's ready. Midnight +5, I said. The pair, in parkas, unrolled the vinyl between them. Navy letters on white, clean and simple. On Purpose Cooperative Home. Work, company. Neighbors will know what it is, the woman said. I'm Priya Design. This is Marco Operations. We can hang it after the lights go on. My brother leaned in the hallway. You hired ops for midnight. I invited people who show up, I said. Mum's smile had gone tight. "This is a stunt, Jenna." "It's a switch," I said, and stepped onto the porch, coat over pajamas. The whole house shifted like a ship turning to watch. We walked the 2 blocks, me, Mum, the small parade of family, the couple from down the street, who always walk their terrier at weird hours. Fireworks popped low and cheap. The city skyline flickered behind bare trees. 118, Willow waited with its brick face, quiet and dark. In the window, a paper sign read "Permit" posted, taped next to a placard, "Occupancy by order of City Jan. 1. Luis crouched at a metal cabinet by the door and clicked the breaker. He didn't flip it. Not yet. I took the second envelope from my coat pocket and broke the seal. Mum watched my hands like they were a show and she hadn't bought tickets. "Read it," I said, and put the paper in her palm. She ran her eyes over the header, blinked, and read aloud without meaning to. "City Arts and Neighborhoods, Microgrant Award, $25,000. Conditional release on facility activation. January 1st, 12:05 a.m., and proof of lease." Her voice dipped. "Applicant, On Purpose Cooperative, Inc., Director Jenna Hart." I set a notarized letter on top of it matching funds commitment, Harbor Street Foundation, Vinci is $5, and a tiny card with a black stripe. Community account authorized purchases. "What about health insurance?" Mum tried, almost reflexive. "Group plan through the co-op for residents who opt in," I said. "We start small. We grow honest." Her eyes flicked to the storefront, to the permit, to the grant letter with a seal you can't fake. Something in her face loosened and then fought it. A silver hatchback pulled up. A woman, around 60, stepped out with a wheeled suitcase and a rolled yoga mat. She stopped when she saw the crowd, unsure. "Jenna." "Caroline?" I said, surprised by the lump in my throat. "We'd met at a workshop, widow, painter. You came." "Your email said tonight," she said, shy and brave all at once. "And you said, bring tea mugs." Behind her, a rideshare eased to the curb. A grad student in a puffer climbed out with a duffel and a stack of canvases tied with twine. "I'm Leah," she said. The room with the north light, the house behind us, had emptied onto the sidewalk. My father's phone hung slack at his side. My cousin forgot to keep the camera on her own face for once. Mum stood very still. Grant letter shaking the smallest bit. Luis looked at me. 5 after, he said. "Your call." I turned the key card in the reader. It beeped green. I put my hand over the breaker lever and looked at Mum. "You can label me later," I said. "Or, you can help me hold the door." Her mouth opened, closed. The label maker in her hand looked suddenly small. She reached out without thinking and put her palm on the glass steadying something that was already steady. "Flip it," she whispered. Luis smiled. I pushed the lever up. Light chased itself alive foyer lamps. A string of bulbs along a hallway, the glow of a shared kitchen where 3 mugs sat like a welcome. The timer on the window sign hummed and the on-purpose letters blinked once. Then held Priya and Marco lifted the banner into place. Luis hooked it easy, like he'd done this 100 times. Inside, a cheap radio we'd left on sprang to life with a soft piano loop. It sounded like a room choosing itself. Caroline rolled her suitcase over the threshold first. Leah followed, hugging her canvases. I held the door with my shoulder and looked at Mum. She exhaled, closed the label maker, and put it in her coat pocket. "Show me the kitchen," she said, voice rough. "Do you have a corkscrew?" "We have 3, I said. "And a place for the label maker?" she asked, almost smiling. "Top drawer," I said. "Under tools," she laughed, a sound I hadn't heard clean in years, and stepped in beside me, hand brushing mine like a truce. Behind us, someone cheered from the sidewalk. Fireworks cracked again. Less important than the light. We were inside when my phone buzzed. 12:05 a.m. Grant released. I forwarded it to Mum. She read it, then lifted her eyes to the hall where new residents were testing light switches like children. "Okay," she said, quieter. "Okay, Jenna, we didn't say alone." We didn't need on purpose anymore. The sign said it for us. The door held. And the first night of the year finally felt like a beginning. The lights held. The piano loop hummed. It felt real until Louise glanced at the permit and said, "Activation checklist is stamped 12:20 a.m. City Rep may swing by. They like to see the switch." My stomach tightened. "We're ready," I said. Priya unrolled the banner tight. Marco checked the fire extinguisher date. Caroline set 2 mugs by the kettle-like offerings. Leah stood in the doorway of the room with North Light, hands on her canvases like they were ribs. Mum opened a drawer and found what she'd asked for. She set her label maker on the counter. "Where do you want first aid?" she asked, voice a little shaky, but game. "Cabinet over the sink," I said. "An exit above the back door, left arrow," she printed. The little machine purred out tape like it had learned a new language. A knock, short, professional. I opened the door. A woman in a navy windbreaker showed a badge. "Inspector Duarte, City Arts and Neighborhoods. Congratulations, Ms. Hart. Conditional grant released, but it can be clawed back within 24 hours if activation fails audit." "May I, please?" I said. She clicked a pen. No smile yet. "I need to see liaison site, insurance binder, occupancy plan, smoke and CO detectors functioning, egress clear, first aid and extinguisher labeled, and a signed statement from at least 3 residents, 1 under 30, 1 caregiver or senior, 1 essential worker, tonight, under 30. Leah said, "Hand up." "Grad student, caregiver or senior," Caroline said, raising her mug. "Widow 60. I teach kids watercolor at the library on Tuesdays." "Essential worker?" Duarte asked, scanning the room. A door banged outside. A bike skidded to the curb. A man in a grease-stained jacket jogged up with a duffel and a fishbowl wrapped in a towel. He stopped, panting. "I'm Evan," he said. "Line cook. Your email said midnight +5. I got stuck on dish." Inspector Duarte's mouth twitched, almost a smile. "Essential worker," she said, checking a box. "No pets, it's a better," Evan said, gently tilting the bowl. "Apartment safe." "Fish are fine," she said. "Let's continue." Luis climbed a stepladder. "Smoke and CO." He pressed test. Beep, beep, beep. The room flinched, then relaxed. "CO?" Duarte asked. "On shelf still boxed," Luis said. Guilty. Mum stepped in before I could. "Scissors," she said, and Priya handed her a pair. She cut the plastic, snapped in batteries, and held it while Luis mounted it above the heater. He tested again. Beep. Green light steady. "Insurance binder?" Duarte asked. Marco slid a clear sleeve onto the counter. "Liability rider, plus property for contents. Effective 12:01 a.m. She initialed. Occupancy plan. I put a laminated sheet on the island. Common quiet, 10 p.m. -6 a.m. Kitchen cleanup chart, emergency contact list. Director on duty, Jenna Hart." My hands didn't shake. Duarte nodded once. 2 more items, egress, and a board resolution naming 2 authorized signers for the cop account. "Backdoor clear," Marco said, already rolling a mop bucket out of the way. Luis unlatched the crash bar. The alley air pushed in cold and clean. Duarte checked sightlines and initialed again. "Board resolution," she said, tapping her pen. I pulled a thin folder from my tote. Minutes special meeting December 29th. Directors Jenna Hart. Priya Rowe, Marco Silva, signatures mine and Priya's in blue. Marco looked stricken. "I didn't bring ID," he said. Duarte lifted her brows. "I need to verify signatures tonight." Mum's label maker purred out an exit arrow, and then went quiet. She looked at me, then at the folder. "Can I serve as interim treasurer?" she asked, surprising herself. "Photo ID is in my coat. I can step off later if you want." "I can count." Silence folded, then opened. "Bylaws allow a temporary appointment," Priya said. "Quick. 3-month seat, by director vote." I nodded once. All in favor. Hands went up. Mine, Priya's, Marco's. "Motion carries," I said. It felt like a sentence Aunt Lila would have liked. Mum blinked hard and fished her wallet out with a trembling hand. Duarte compared ID to the form, then slid the paper across. Sign and print. Mum signed Elaine Hart in neat, teacher letters. Priya countersigned as secretary. Duarte dated it. A small beep sounded from the fishbowl. It was just Evan's watch. 12:18 a.m. Last item, Duarte said. Proof of welcome and safety posting. Mum, already on a roll, fed tape into the label maker. It spat out welcome safety read first, and she smoothed it onto the laminated house. Rules like she'd been doing it forever. Inspector Duarte finally smiled for real. You made the paperwork boring, she said. That's how things live. Her pen hovered over the last line. If I sign, your grant stands and the match releases at dawn, she said. If I don't, your timer lights turn into souvenirs. Someone knocked on the glass again. 2 quick taps. A woman in a wool coat stood on the sidewalk with a clipboard and a thermos. Foundation logo on her scarf. Harbor Street Foundation. Right on time, Duarte's pen paused. We have a visitor, she said. Let's see if your midnight holds daylight. The woman in the wool coat stepped inside, breath-fogging her scarf. Beaumont, Harbor Street Foundation, she said, offering a card. The logo matched her pin. Our match releases when the city signs. We like to see day one with our own eyes. Inspector Duarte nodded. I'm close, she said. Finish strong. Beaumont scanned fast, kind but fierce. 3 residents present. Under 30, caregiver, senior, essential worker. Here, Leah said, raising her duffel. Here, Caroline added, hand on a mug. Here, Evan said, setting the fishbowl gently on the counter. Safety posting. Beaumont asked. Mum lifted the laminated sheet like a teacher on the first day, and tapped the label she'd just made. Welcome, safety read first. Her voice steadied as she read the first 3 lines aloud. Quiet hours. Kitchen rules, emergency numbers. Something in the room relaxed, like it had been waiting for that exact tone. Beaumont smiled at Mum, then at me. Board signers. Priya handed over the resolution with Mum's fresh signature. Beaumont compared IDs, made a neat pencil checkmark, and turned to Duarte. Looks clean. Duarte clicked her pen. To last verifications, she said. Egress photo with door open, and a time-stamped house key handoff to residents. Louise propped the back door. Duarte snapped a photo. Then she nodded at me. I took 3 labeled key envelopes from the counter. Leonard Light. Evan Garden Room, Caroline Frontnook, and placed them in their hands like a benediction. Welcome home, I said. A silence landed soft full. Duarte signed her form with a final flourish. Activation complete, 12:23 a.m. City grant stands. She shook my hand, then Mum's. You did the boring parts. That's how the light stays on. Beaumont's phone chimed. She read, smiled. Match released. You'll see it by dawn, she said. She set a thermos on the counter. From our team ginger tea. Tonight, you built a room. Tomorrow, you'll run one. We fund both. She turned to go, then paused at the door. One ask, keep a log on the fridge. First entry should say, why this place exists in 1 sentence. People forget when the sink leaks. Mum was already at the drawer, pulling out a marker that squeaked like a memory. She wrote on the whiteboard in neat block letters. Because people deserve company that doesn't require a ceremony. Aish, she capped the marker and blinked hard. Leah laughed softly. I can make a better sign in the morning, she said. It's perfect tonight, I said. Evan held up his watch. I start prep at 10. Can I leave spices here? Top shelf, labeled. Mum answered before I could, pointing at the label maker like it had found its calling. She fed the tape and printed Evan's spices. It purred out the word purpose before she could stop it. The machine had eaten part of the first label. She peeled the extra bit, looked at it, and pressed purpose to the inside of the cabinet door. Small and private. Accident, she mumbled. Keep it, I said. Caroline set her suitcase against the wall and took out a small tin. Shortbread, she said. From my neighbor. She told me to share if I found my people. We did, Priya said, flipping the kettle. Or, they found us. Duarte and Beaumont slipped back into the cold. The sign in the window held steady. Louis stowed the ladder and saluted with 2 fingers. Call me if the heater clicks, he said, and vanished down the hall. For a minute, no one moved. Fireworks popped far off like someone else's year. Inside, our room humfridge, fish aerator, heat through baseboards. Not loud. Alive, Bum cleared her throat. I have something, she said, and reached into her coat. The label maker. She held it like it might break and set it on the island. I have been unkind with this, she said, not looking at me. Tonight, I would like to label cabinets, not people. She printed mugs, plates, tools, first aid, hand shaking, jaw steady. Then she pressed one small strip into my palm. Director, put it where you want, she said, eyes wet. I didn't stick it on me. I pressed it onto the fridge whiteboard under the sentence she had written. A job title for anyone who would carry it when it wasn't mine. Leah snapped the first. Polaroid 3 new residents under the on purpose sign. Mom mid-smile, me blurry, because I was moving. She taped it to the corkboard with the date, Jan 1, 12/27, A.M. My phone buzz, city deposit. Pending then again foundation, match queued. I silenced it and poured tea. Mum took a cup, wrapped both hands around it, and looked at the door we had held together. Happy New Year, she said. A little late, exactly right. Happy New Year, I said. We didn't toast. We worked, we labeled a few more shelves. We found the corkscrew. We wrote the second line on the fridge log. First night, lights on, keys handed, tea shed. At 1:03. Mum slipped the label maker into the drawer, marked tools, and closed it softly. Every New Year, she used to brand me alone on purpose, but then we built on purpose into a place. The fireworks ended. The light did not dot, and for the first time in years, midnight felt less like a clock and more like a door we could hold open together.